Now, the greatest radio shows of all time.
Suspense.
The Shadow Node.
Washington calling David Harding, counter-spy.
Classic radio theater.
The Great Gildersleeve.
Fibber McGee and Molly.
Dragnet. Gunsmoke.
The Lone Ranger.
Now, step back into a time machine with your host, Wyatt Cox.
Good evening, friends of the Inner Sanctum.
A little later this hour, we'll start another Yours Truly Johnny Dollar story. But right now, let's head to Madison High School and see what's going on with Our Miss Brooks, starring Eve Arden. This episode was originally broadcast March 12th, 1950.
Colgate Dental Cream to clean your breath while you clean your teeth and help stop tooth decay. And Luster Cream Shampoo for soft, glamorous, caressable hair bring you Our Miss Brooks, starring Eve Arden. It's time once again for another comedy episode of Our Miss Brooks, written by Al Lewis. Well, most school teachers are accustomed to early rising. But last Friday morning, our Miss Brooks, who teaches English at Madison High School, was awakened a little too early by her landlady, Mrs. Davis.
Connie! Oh, Connie, I've got something to tell you. Are you up?
I am now, Mrs. Davis. Is it 7 o'clock?
No, dear, it's only 5 o'clock.
I hope you didn't wake me up to tell me I've got 2 more hours to sleep.
Oh, certainly not. I thought I heard a noise in the kitchen.
Oh? What sort of a noise?
Well, first I heard something that sounded like footsteps in the backyard. And then there was a sound of a pane of glass breaking. Then the window slid up. Then there were some more footsteps in the kitchen. And then there was a sound of the refrigerator being opened.
Did you go into the kitchen to investigate?
No, I figured it was only the cat.
Minerva? Well, she wouldn't go to the refrigerator. She likes her milk warm. It's probably just your imagination, Mrs. Davis. Now, let's go back to sleep, huh?
But, Connie, as I think back, those footsteps were pretty heavy for a cat.
Please, Mrs. Davis, if you're trying to frighten me into thinking there's someone in this house, you've succeeded. Hand me my robe, please, the one on the chair with the extra heavy tassels on the belt.
Oh, here you are, Connie. I'll go put my slippers on and join you in the kitchen.
All right. Oh, this hallway is nice and dark. Why do they always have to put the switch on the opposite end from where you are? I'll just feel my way along the wall and... Oops! Who's that? All right, don't move now. Who are you and what are you doing in this house?
I'm looking for my slippers, Connie. Maybe they're under my bed. I'll go see.
Oh, sorry, Mrs. Davis. I've got my bearings now. Here's the kitchen door. Ooh!
I beg your pardon. I didn't mean to startle you with the flashlight. It's just a tool of the trade.
If you're looking for the gas meter, it's outside.
I'm not looking for the gas meter. Anybody else living here besides yourself?
My landlady, Mrs. Davis. But this seems like a strange time to be taking the census.
I'm not taking the census either, Miss,
Brooks. Connie Brooks.
How do you do? My name's Joe Phillips.
Oh, happy to shake your flashlight, Mr. Phillips. If you're looking for money, I can save us both a lot of time. I'm a school teacher.
Oh, no, I wasn't looking after money. I just broke in to raid your icebox. Of course, if I'd have known you were a school teacher, I'd have brought you a sandwich.
But I don't understand. If you're just after food, why didn't you go to a restaurant?
I got a dandy answer for that one. They charge. You see, I've been out of work for several weeks now, and since I was a kid, I've always been led to believe that starvation is a very unsatisfactory career. So when I'm hungry, I just take a chance and drop into various kitchens.
I never heard of such a thing. Sit down at that table for a minute. I've got to hear some more about this.
Yeah, but you caught me red-handed. Aren't you going to call the police?
The police? We're lucky if there's enough in that icebox for you and me. Of course, we just had leftovers for dinner last night, but you're welcome to some leftovers.
Well, to tell you the truth, I wasn't thinking about dinner. What I had in mind was breakfast.
Oh, I'm sorry. I lost my head. I'll just step out on the back porch and get the milk.
I brought it in with me.
That was very thoughtful.
Did you look around, Connie? Is everything all right?
So far, so good, Mrs. Davis. This is Mr. Phillips. He's a burglar.
Oh. How do you do, Mr. Phillips? Have you been here long?
Not very, Mrs. Davis. Why?
Because I thought I heard someone moving around in here before. Did you notice anybody?
Oh, just a little cat out on the back porch.
Oh, that's Minerva, but it couldn't have been Minerva because he's a burglar.
Yes. He claims he's just after our vitamins, Mrs. Davis. He doesn't seem very violent, so I thought I'd give him a bite to eat and get the rest of his story.
Well, for heaven's sake, I'll put on some coffee.
Thanks, Mrs. Davis. Could I trouble you for the address here, please?
The address? Why do you want that?
Yeah, seems to me you found the place all right without the address.
Well, I like to jot it down in my little black book. You see, I keep a record of every kitchen I've visited. And as soon as I can afford it, I'm going to pay back everyone who's contributed to my nourishment. Yes, ma'am, I'm going to throw the biggest party you ever saw.
Dinner party, huh? How many on your guest list so far?
About 150 couples.
With all those people, you'll have to break into a pretty big restaurant.
Oh, that's one shindig I'm going to pay for. I realize I'll have to find a pretty good job before I can do that, but I really intend to make the effort.
Well, good for you, Joe.
I must admit that in the past, steady work has always seemed quite repellent to me, but, well, it's the only way to get even, I guess.
Here's some cereal, Mr. Phillips. The coffee will be ready in a minute.
Thank you.
Tell me, Mr. Phillips, in your little food raiding expeditions, have you ever been caught before tonight?
No, ma'am. But I was almost caught last night. And the setup looked so lovely. It was about 7:30 in the evening. Here was this man fast asleep on a couch. Here was this big bowl of fried chicken on a table behind him. And here was this open window right near it. But just as I reached in to grab it, he woke up. You never heard such a bellowing in your life. Chased me 15 blocks before I finally shook him.
Well, that's one way to work up an appetite.
Chicken wasn't worth it. Things fried in deep fat murder me.
Well, look, Mr. Phillips, if you're serious about wanting to pay back your food debts, I may be able to help you. Our school custodian has been sick for a few days, and I might be able to get you a job filling in for him.
Please, not while I'm eating.
Here's your coffee, folks. While we're on the subject of eating, Connie, I've been invited over to my sister Angela's for dinner. I'd like to ask you along, but Angela hasn't been very well lately, and
I wouldn't think of bothering Angela, Mrs. Davis. Don't worry about me. I'll have a nice dinner in the drugstore.
Oh, don't do that, Miss Brooks. If you're short of funds, why not have dinner with me?
Thanks just the same, Mr. Phillips, but I hate to eat and run.
Our Miss Brooks, starring Eve Arden, will continue in just a moment, but first...
March 12, 1950, Our Miss Brooks on Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox.
Are you in bad pain? You know what I mean. Your knees hurt. Your shoulder hurts. Your elbow and back are constantly killing you. And I'm sure you've tried every pain pill or cream available at the drugstore. Am I right? Well, here's something you haven't tried. Pain Magic. Pain Magic is not available at any drugstore. The only place you can get it is by calling the special toll-free number I'm about to give you.
And to make things even better, call right now and find out about our buy one, get one free offer. We're so confident it'll work for you that we offer a free bottle with your purchase. No prescription required.
Call now to learn how you can get Pain Magic and get rid of your pain. Remember, your results may vary.
800-492-8164. 800-492-8164. 800-492-8164. That's 800-492-8164.
Now on Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox, more of Our Miss Brooks starring Eve Arden, March 12, 1950.
Well, after breakfast, Mr. Phillips helped with the dishes, those he didn't swallow, and we arrived at school several minutes before my first class. You are now in the hallowed halls of Madison High, Mr. Phillips. On your right is the office of our beloved principal, Osgood Conklin, known to the faculty as the Lion's Den.
Good morning, Miss Brooks.
And directly in front of you is the lion's cub, Harriet. Miss Conklin, meet Mr. Phillips.
Hello, Miss Conklin.
How do you do, Mr. Phillips?
Just call me Joe.
All right. Then you just call me Harriet.
Okay, Harriet.
Now that we're all engaged. I'd like to ask you something, Harriet. Has the custodian returned to work yet?
No, Miss Brooks, he hasn't. As a matter of fact, Daddy has asked me to see that the things that need fixing around here get fixed. At least until he can get somebody to take Mr. Jensen's place.
Oh, then we're just in time. You wait right here, Mr. Phillips. I'll arrange an interview with Mr. Conklin.
Okay, Miss Brooks.
Come in.
It's me, Mr. Conklin. There's something I'd like to talk to you about.
Very well, Miss Brooks, but first there's something I'd like to discuss with you. It seems the salary checks have been held up this month, and, well, this is a very embarrassing statement for me to make, but I'm short of funds.
If you think that's an embarrassing statement, wait till you put your next question. I'm flat broke myself.
Oh, I wasn't thinking in terms of borrowing money, Miss Brooks.
Oh.
But as I recall, my daughter Harriet brought you home to dinner one night last week. Now, my wife left town yesterday to visit her mother, and while I don't feel that you owe me a dinner, well, I am one up on you.
And after tonight, you will still be one up on me. You see, Mr. Conklin, Mrs. Davis is visiting her sister tonight, and I'm going to eat in the drugstore. But about this matter of a new custodian, Mr. Conklin, I'd like to tell you about...
Maybe the grocer would extend my credit and Harriet...
Please, sir, I didn't finish talking.
What? Oh. I'm sorry, Miss Brooks. You'll have to forgive my preoccupation with the inner man, but I haven't had a square meal in 2 days. Last night, Martha left some delicious fried chicken for me on a table, and somebody made off with it.
Well, that's too bad, sir, but... Oh, no. Did you get a good look at the man?
Well, it was pretty dark, and How did you know it was a man?
Well, if he was reaching through the window, why, it must have...
How did you know that he reached through the window?
Well, it's only natural. If you were napping on the couch, there was no other...
How did you know I was napping?
I didn't. Don't you always take a nap before your evening meal?
Miss Brooks, did you steal my dinner?
Mr. Conklin, how can you say such a thing?
Oh, well, I'm sorry, Miss Brooks. I was quite upset by the incident. I'm almost certain it was a man. I chased that thief for blocks.
Well, that's one thing about the man I'd like to recommend for the custodian's job, Mr. Conklin. He's as honest as the day is long.
What? You have someone to replace Mr. Jensen?
Yes.
Well, why didn't you say so? Well, don't stand there. Where is he?
He's right outside. I'll call him. Come on in, Mr. Phillips. Mr. Conklin will see you now.
Thanks.
This is Joe Phillips, Mr. Conklin.
Now, how do you do... Say, haven't I seen you someplace before?
I was about to mention that same thing.
Oh, no, I'm sure you two haven't met. Although Mr. Phillips does get around to some of our better homes.
Oh. Well, probably just a coincidence. Now then, Phillips, I understand you'd like to fill in here as our temporary custodian.
Yes, sir.
Are you a handyman with tools?
You ought to see him with a knife and fork.
I'm very handy, Mr. Conklin, and hours don't mean anything to me either.
You said it.
If I can just take a crack at this job, I know you'll be pleased.
Very well. Here are the keys to the custodian's office. Now help yourself to a pair of overalls and report back to me. You've got yourself a job.
But, Mr. Conklin, don't you want to ask me any questions about my background or anything?
If there's one thing I have, it's an ability to judge character. Now go, my boy, and good luck to you.
Thank you, Mr. Conklin. And you too, Miss Brooks. You won't be sorry.
Oh, I'm sure I won't be sorry. I can tell by looking at that fellow that he's not only competent, but honest and loyal. Now, reach over to my desk and hand me the pen on it. I've got to send a memo to the board about our new custodian.
Yes, sir. Oh, there's no pen on the desk, Mr. Conklin.
Oh, there must be. I put it there myself, alongside of my watch.
Watch?
Now, don't tell me that's gone, too.
Are you sure you put your watch on the desk, Mr. Conklin?
Positive. When I came in this morning, I took it out of the little pocket in my trousers.
Trousers?
Yes. Trousers. And stop turning your face away. It's common courtesy to look at the person you're addressing.
Frankly, Mr. Conklin, I'm afraid to look. In spite of the circumstances under which we had met, I was determined to give Joe Phillips a chance. By lunch period, I felt confident that he was taking advantage of his chance, because 4 desks, 2 sewing machines, and a typewriter were reported missing. I didn't completely lose faith in his honesty, but it was ebbing pretty rapidly. However, when I dropped into the biology laboratory to meet Mr. Boynton for lunch, I temporarily shelved our temporary custodian. Hi, Mr. Boynton. Ready to go to lunch?
Oh, I'm not going to the cafeteria today, Miss Brooks. I brought a box lunch with me. Since our salary checks were delayed this week, I'm a little short.
I've attained full midgethood myself. I'm joking, of course. I have enough money for a light lunch if you don't weigh it.
Look, Miss Brooks, we've been friends a long time. I brought a very large lunchbox down today. I insist you share it with me.
All right, you get in first. I mean, you're very kind, Mr. Boynton.
Oh, it's nothing at all. You're the one who's kind. Kind, considerate, and the fairest-minded person he's ever met. That's what Mr. Phillips said about you this morning.
Mr. Phillips?
Our new custodian. He was in here after first period. Offered to help me clean out the lab.
That's Mr. Phillips, all right. But couldn't we talk about him later? I'm kind of hungry, Mr. Boynton.
Oh, of course. I'll get my lunchbox out of the desk and... Well, that's funny. It's gone.
Your lunchbox?
My desk.
Well, come on, Mr. Boynton. We'll go halvies on a glass of milk in the cafeteria.
But where in the world...
I can't discuss it in detail just yet, Mr. Boynton, but I'm worried. I need your advice.
Oh?
Tell me, what should a person do if this person befriended another person, only to find out that that person may not have been worthy of the first person's faith, in view of certain occurrences, which, although the second person couldn't definitely be accused of them, circumstances seem to point the finger of suspicion and... Well, just tell me this, Mr. Boynton.
What, Miss Brooks?
How did I ever get to be an English teacher? Oh, thanks, Walter. The cafeteria's pretty crowded today. Mr. Boynton's just getting me some milk.
This chicken a la king is swell today. You ought to try it.
It does look good. But, Walter, I'm surprised at your table manners. You're eating with your fingers.
Everybody's eating with their fingers today. The silverware's all gone. Yeah, including a fine set of Easterling knives and forks, donated by the wife of Madison High School's founder, Mrs. Yodar Critch.
Well, she'll never miss them. She's been dead 10 years. Oh, but this is awful, Walter. I can't help feeling it's my fault.
Your fault? What did you have to do with it?
I've got to tell somebody, and it might as well be you. Have you noticed the new custodian bustling around school today?
Yeah, come to think of it, I have. He seems like a very industrious chap.
He's industrious, all right. That's why I feel so responsible. Do you know where I met this gentleman?
Where?
In my kitchen icebox at 5 o'clock in the morning.
Wasn't it awfully chilly?
This is no kidding matter, Walter. This Joe Phillips broke into our place this morning, and when Mrs. Davis and I caught him, he said he just wanted a meal. He seemed so sincere, I brought him down to school and got him a job.
Gosh, Miss Brooks, you mean you talked Mr. Conklin into hiring a crook?
At the time, I was convinced he wasn't a crook, but in view of the day's events so far, I am now convinced that in spite of his very convincing approach, I was prematurely convinced. This isn't one of my better days.
Gosh, Miss Brooks, there's no reason for you to be so upset about it. Why don't we just call a cop and have him tossed into the pokey?
Because we haven't any evidence, Walter. Besides, I'd like to get him out of here without Mr. Conklin's knowledge. I'll never hear the end of it if he discovers I'd recommended a criminal.
Well, there must be something we can do. Oh, you should have called the police last night when you had him dead to rights. Hey, wait a minute. I've got an idea. You've got to get him back to your house again tonight. Have you got something you could lure him with?
I like to think I have. His most vulnerable spot is his appetite. He'll eat anything, as long as it isn't fried in deep fat. That murders him.
Great. Then all we have to do is drop a casual remark that you're having a big turkey dinner at your place tonight, and that you're leaving the house right afterwards.
Where am I going?
To the show. The Baron of Arizona just came to town.
Is he taking me?
No, that's the name of the movie.
Oh.
Now, you tell Mr. Boynton about our plan and have him at your house tonight at 7:30 or so.
Quiet, Walter. Phillips is coming over here. Now, remember, you know nothing.
Right.
Well, good afternoon, Miss Brooks.
Hello, Mr. Phillips. This is Walter Denton, one of my students.
I'm glad to know you, son. Enjoying your food?
Oh, he's enjoyed every handful. Sit down, won't you?
Thanks. I'm kind of tired. I've had a very busy morning.
Yes, I know.
Of course, I'm not too familiar with the job as yet.
Don't worry about it. I'm sure you'll pick things up as you go along.
Mr. Conklin's expecting big things from me, I guess, and I'm going to do my best not to let him down, but after all, I only have 2 hands.
If you had more, there'd be no school by now.
Oh, Miss Brooks, didn't you have to see one of the other teachers about something?
What? Oh, yes, of course. Please excuse me, Mr. Phillips. I've got to see one of the other teachers about something. See you later, Walter.
Bye. Now then, Mr. Phillips, you look to me like a man who likes to eat.
I do my share of it.
Yeah, me too. And if there's one thing I love, it's roast turkey.
Say, now you're talking.
There doesn't seem to be any room at the other table, so I'll have to join you, Denton. Hello there, Phillips.
Hello, Mr. Conklin.
Is that all you're having for lunch, Mr. Conklin? A glass of milk and a donut?
It's all I require, Denton. I'm on a diet.
Yes, sir. Harriet told me about your salary check being held up, but if you're that glad...
Oh, quiet!
Say, that must be why Miss Brooks didn't have anything in front of her just now. She can't afford to eat.
Don't be silly. She's purposely not having any lunch because her landlady, Mrs. Davis, is roasting them a big turkey for tonight.
A big turkey?
A big turkey?
A big turkey.
Well, it's almost 8 o'clock. If he's coming at all, he should be here any minute.
Are all the lights out in the house, Miss Brooks?
I just sent Walter to put them out in the kitchen and dining room. I also told him to leave the back door unlatched. I'm running out of windows.
Oh, Miss Brooks, come here a minute.
What has Walter found? March 12, 1950, our Miss Brooks on Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox.
Are you suffering with arthritis or osteoporosis? Do you have diabetes? Did you know that these are just 2 of the hundreds of diseases that have seen improvement with Dr. Wallach's incredible longevity products? You can't get them at a health food store. The only way to get them is to call us at 800-214-0065. That's 800-214-0065. Do you have heart disease, fibromyalgia, or high blood pressure? Do you have a terrible time losing weight? Dr. Wallach can help. He was a veterinarian and cured diseases in animals. He felt that he could do the same for humans, so he became a physician. Over 50 years of research and helping people like you goes into every bottle of Dr. Wallach's amazing discoveries. Do you want to feel better? Learn how to treat the cause of your problem rather than covering up the symptoms with drugs. Call 800-214-0065. That's 800-214-0065.
No offense, but are you a little fat when you look in the mirror? How would you like to learn the secrets to lose 3 to 5 pounds a week easily without joining the gym or going through any crazy diets? It's called Body Sculpt by Med Diet. For the last 2 decades, we've been helping people just like you that have pounds they want to shed. We've helped millions of people lose thousands and thousands of pounds over the years. And now it's your turn. Learn the secrets of how to lose weight with one simple phone call. You'll see an amazing difference in a matter of days. Don't believe us? We'll offer you a money-back guarantee. If you're ready to start losing weight right now, call right now to learn more about your risk-free order to Body Sculpt.
Call for your risk-free offer. 800-738-5332. 800-738-5332. 800-738-5332. That's 800-738-5332.
Now on Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox, the conclusion of our Miss Brooks starring Eve Arden. March 12th, 1950, The Burglar.
What is it, Walter?
Look, on this kitchen table here, in this roasting pan.
It's a cooked turkey.
A beautiful cooked turkey.
Oh, now isn't that sweet? Mrs. Davis must have left it for me when she went to her sister's. Put the lid back on, Walter.
Oh, this is great. Now we've got some real bait. Now remember the plan. When we hear him come in, we wait till he's in the middle of the kitchen. Then Mr. Boynton jumps on him, I throw my belt around him, and you put the lights on, Miss Brooks.
Right. Now turn them off, Walter.
There. Gosh, it's sure dark in here.
Well, the darker the better. If we can get him by surprise. Yeah.
Quiet. Somebody's coming.
I hear him.
I see a flashlight.
I should have told him the door was unlatched.
He's eating it.
Geronimo!
There, we've got you.
You might have waited until I finished a drumstick.
Mr. Conklin.
Well, I just wanted to talk to you about something, Miss Brooks. There weren't any lights in front, so I thought I'd try the back way.
Through the window?
Well, that was an accident. But once I got the window open, I thought I'd come in and leave a note for you.
And in what handier place than buried in the stuffing of a turkey?
Please, Miss Brooks, let's go into the living room and talk this thing over.
Well, let's all go into the living room. We still expect company, you know.
Oh, yeah. You don't always snag the right weasel the first time.
Now that's a switch. Somebody's at the front door. Coming.
Hi, Miss Brooks, it's me.
Mr. Phillips, what do you mean by sneaking in the front way?
I'm not sneaking in. I just came over to explain a few things.
This I've got to hear. Come in.
So there you are.
Good evening, Phillips.
Oh, I'm glad you're here tonight, Mr. Conklin. I missed you at school this afternoon, and I was going to give Miss Brooks a message for you.
What kind of a message, Phillips?
Well, your daughter Harriet was very helpful today, sir. But when I told her to bring the silverware to the shop to be polished, she had it picked up a little too early, before lunch.
Yes, I know. That isn't the only mistake she made. While she was dusting, she put my watch and fountain pen in my desk, and I didn't find them till after school.
But what about the desks and sewing machines and the typewriter that were missing?
Oh, I just took them down to the cellar to repair them. They sure needed a good varnishing.
So does my suspicious mind. Mr. Phillips, I owe you an apology.
And so do I, Phillips.
Me too.
Fortunately, we've got something in the kitchen that'll make us all feel a lot better. Suppose we start carving that nice roast turkey.
Where do you keep your knives, my dear?
What was that?
It came from the kitchen.
Well, come on, let's investigate.
Right behind you.
Well, I should never have told Walter to unlatch that back door.
Why, Miss Brooks? What's happened?
Somebody swiped our turkey. The Red Cross provides immediate help for victims of disaster, as well as long-term help. The rebuilding and repair of homes, extended medical care, and where needed, even the training for a new job. During 1949, almost 300,000 persons in over 300 disaster operations received vital Red Cross aid. This cost over $6.5 million. This year, when you contribute to the Red Cross, give generously. Help the Red Cross continue its good work.
Next week, tune into another Our Miss Brooks show brought to you by Luster Cream Shampoo for soft, glamorous, caressable hair and Colgate Dental Cream to clean your breath while you clean your teeth and help stop tooth decay. Our Miss Brooks, starring Eve Arden, is produced by Larry Burns, directed by Al Lewis, with the music of Wilbur Hatch under the direction of Maurice Carlton. Mr. Boynton is played by Jeff Chandler, Mr. Conklin by Gail Gordon. Others in tonight's cast were Jane Morgan, Dick Crenna, Gloria McMillan, and Bob Sweeney.
March 12, 1950, Our Miss Brooks on Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox.
What does it mean to be an American? Just what are our American values? Working hard to succeed, loving God, country, and family, being honest, strong, and compassionate.
Supporting our Constitution and recognizing that we are blessed to be living in America, the greatest country in the world.
Our Bill of Rights protects us, our freedoms of worship, speech, and privacy, our right to own firearms, our right to trial by jury.
Our right to be free, to live our own lives without some bureaucrat telling us what to do. Most countries don't have these rights.
Want to know more? It's all there in the book. Get your own free book, The U.S. Constitution and the Declaration of Independence. Then read it again, and this time share it with your friends. Our great Constitution is the basis of all of our freedoms, our inalienable rights. Get your own copy at freeusbook.com.
Brought to you by the American Media Council.
Now on Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox, we start a brand new yours truly Johnny Dollar story, The Clinton Matter. This episode originally broadcast March 12th, 1956.
From Hollywood, it's time now for Johnny Dollar.
Mr. John Dollar?
Yes?
Western Union, I have a message for you from New York.
Oh?
Please proceed Northern Hotel, Clinton, Colorado, as soon as possible.
Yeah?
Building irregularities suspected affecting several insurance companies. Will advise. Regards. Signed, Albert Davies, Chief Investigator, United Adjustment Bureau, New York, New York.
Uh-huh.
Would you like that mailed to you, Mr. Dollar?
No, don't bother. Can you take an answer?
Go ahead.
To Albert Davies, Chief Investigator, United Adjustment Bureau. You have the address. Confirming. Exact time of arrival to follow. Sign that, Johnny Dollar.
Tonight and every weekday night, Bob Bailey in the transcribed adventures of the man with the action-packed expense account, America's fabulous freelance insurance investigator.
Yours truly, Johnny Dollar. Expense account submitted by Special Investigator Johnny Dollar to the United Adjustment Bureau, New York City, New York. The following is an accounting of expenditures during my investigation of the Clinton matter. Or maybe racket is a better word. Expense account, first item, $105.63. Transportation by air, Hartford to Denver. Item 2, $28.50, Denver to Grand Junction. A place busy and bustling with uranium hopefuls. Third expenditure, $100. Deposit and rental on a car, which I used to drive the 105 miles through the rugged mountains due north of Grand Junction to Clinton, Colorado. A place that the rental agents had described as a sleepy little mountain town. When I got there, everybody was running in the direction of what was very shortly not going to be the new school building. Like everybody else in Clinton, Colorado, I spent the next 3 hours or so helping to try and get the fire under control. Then finally, I left the scene and located the Northern Hotel, where the clerk was standing by waiting for me.
Mr. Dollar?
Yeah.
Operator 18 New York City has been calling you for the last 4 hours. Mr. Davies, I believe.
Oh, yeah. Could you put the call in for me?
Certainly, I'd be glad to.
I'll take it up to my room. I want to change my clothes.
Certainly. Boy, take Mr. Dollar's bags up to 310.
I shaved and showered, changed clothes, and unpacked. From my window, I could see the still glowing embers of the fire, red against the winter night. The school building was completely destroyed. Beyond, the snow-covered Rockies rose all about the town of Clinton, which I had yet to see. Johnny Dollar.
I have your call now, Mr. Dollar.
Oh, good, thanks.
Johnny?
Hi, Al.
Say, I've been trying to get to you all day. I thought you were going to let me know the minute you got into town.
Well, there was a fire here, Al. I had to pitch in and help along with everybody else.
Oh, I see. Well, has Osborne contacted you yet about this case?
Osborne? Who's that?
Julian Osborne. Look, I talked to him in Clinton last night. He said he'd wait around the hotel until you showed up. He lives there, Johnny. He drove into Denver 2 days ago and told the insurance broker he thought a building that Great Eastern Fidelity covered was in real bad shape.
Now, what building?
Well, a new school that they just put up there, Johnny.
Al, it was in bad shape. Worse shape now. It fell down about 4 hours ago. That was the fire, Al.
Oh. Well, Great Eastern's in for $200,000. Look, Johnny, contact Julian Osborne and see what he has to say.
Right.
And call me back when you find out what's what.
So long.
Yes, Mr. Dollar, may I help you?
Yeah. Do you have a city directory here in Clinton?
We aren't that small. Here it is, right here.
Good.
After all, we have 14,263 people.
Okay, thanks.
I know most of them, Mr. Dollar. Who do you want to get in touch with?
A man named Julian Osborne.
Julian Osborne?
Yeah. Know him?
I didn't know him, but it came over the radio a little while ago. They found his body in the fire. He burned to death.
A 4-block walk down the icy streets of the town took me to the sheriff's office, face to face with a heavy-set, owlish-looking man named Doherty. Sheriff Paul Doherty. He smiled professionally until I got around to inquiring about Julian Osborne.
Oh. Well, you his family?
No. I made the trip here to Clinton to see him especially, though. I just heard he was killed in the fire.
Yes, too bad about Mr. Osborne.
I don't quite understand about it, though.
He was school janitor.
Oh.
What was your business with him, Mr. Dollar?
Insurance investigation.
Oh?
Yeah, Osborne reported the possibility of something wrong with the new school.
He did? To who?
To our brokers in Denver. That's why they sent me out here.
Well, your trip was for nothing then.
Maybe.
Well, you'd think if he had anything like that on his mind, he'd have come to me, wouldn't you?
Yes. Did he?
No, used to pass him on the street. Never said a word.
Uh-huh. Where's the body?
Morgue? I wouldn't go over there, son.
I want to contact some of his family, his friends.
Well, that might be hard to do. No family here, no close friends. Used to prospect for a living until he got kind of old. Then he took the job janitoring. Lived right there in the basement of the school. City'll bury him.
I see. How long had he worked at the school?
6 months since the place was built.
Mm-hmm. Who hired him?
Principal, Florrie Hawkins.
Florrie Hawkins. Where can I find her?
Lives on Pearson Street. That's 1 block over and 2 blocks to your left. Number 326.
326 Pearson, huh?
That's right. And son. Bad night to go calling on her.
I'd like to see Mrs. Hawkins, please.
I'm Miss Hawkins.
Well, I'm an insurance investigator. My name's Johnny Dollar.
Insurance?
Yes.
Why do you want to talk to me?
Well, I'll be frank with you, Miss Hawkins. I came to Clinton to talk to Julian Osborne.
Oh.
You heard he died in the fire.
Yes, I heard. It's tragic. I'm so thankful school wasn't in session today. Come in.
Thank you. I know this has been a pretty grueling day for you, for everyone in this town, Miss Hawkins, losing your school and all. I wouldn't call on you except I feel it's important.
Excuse me, please.
Sure.
Hello? Who? Yes, Sheriff. Yes, he is right now. Yes. Good night.
There's just a couple of questions I'd like you to answer about Julian Osborne so I can
I'm afraid I can't help you with anything, Mr. Dollar.
What?
You'll have to go now.
Well, look, now, wait a minute. If you'd
Please. I don't want to be impolite, but I'm tired. Very tired.
Yeah, sure. That phone call wore you out.
Please.
All right, I'll go, Miss Hawkins. But I think you should know why I came here.
I can assure you, Mr. Dollar, whatever the reason, I'm simply not interested.
I was sent here because Julian Osborne advised the insurance company that he suspected certain building irregularities had gone into the new school. Miss Hawkins, did Mr. Osborne ever mention anything like this to you?
No. Now, will you
Do you have an idea to whom he might have confided such information here in Clinton?
No. I rather think he was imagining things.
You noticed nothing irregular yourself?
No, of course not.
Mm-hmm. Would that call you just had from Sheriff Doherty cause you not to notice anything?
Is that all? I'm dreadfully tired.
Thanks for your time. Oh, Miss Hawkins.
Yes?
If Sheriff Doherty calls again, tell him I'm at the Northern Hotel. Northern Hotel.
Good night, Mr. Dollar.
Expense account item 4, $10.80. 1 long-distance call to New York. I got Al Davies out of bed and told him the fate of Julian Osborne. Davies requested me to stay on in Clinton to see the matter through. About 11 o'clock that night, I walked over to the site where the new school had once stood. A few firemen and policemen were still around, searching the ashes by the light of lanterns and spotlights. One of them told me the cause of the fire had not yet been determined. I started back to my hotel. Turning a corner by an alley, 2 men in dark clothes were holding a third man in a sheepskin. A fourth man was giving him the works. Hey, just a minute here.
Come on, let's get out of here, boy.
There, easy now, easy now. You need some help, mister.
Everybody needs help. Let me tell you who I am before you help me. Maybe you won't want to.
Easy, just take it easy now.
I'm David Baines. You're from out of town, aren't you?
Yes.
I thought so. I architected that school that isn't anymore. Well, don't you understand, Samaritan? Don't you see? That group of citizens who were working me over just now have kids. The kids could have been in there when the fire broke out. I'm afraid. I'm afraid they feel I don't design especially good buildings.
I took David Baines over to my hotel room, still half unconscious from the beating. I sent the bellboy out for bandages, iodine, and something to take off the chill. While I was patching him up, I was thinking how he'd stood there and taken that beating. Stood there in sight of half a dozen policemen and firemen and let them do that to him. Yeah, try a little more.
Thanks. Who are you?
Johnny Dollar, insurance investigator. I came here about the school.
I see. Do you want to beat me up, too? Company you're working for will be liable.
Want some more of this?
What'd you say your name is?
Dollar, Johnny Dollar.
Mr. Dollar, I'm in a curious position. I designed the school. I planned every feature of it. But I had nothing to do with the building. You don't believe me?
I wish you'd explain that.
A week before they broke ground, a very important thing happened to me, Mr. Dollar. I went to Europe. I couldn't pass it up. It was a chance to study for another year under some men I'd admired all my life. Consider it a scholarship, Mr. Baines. That's what he said.
Who said?
The man who paid my way to Europe. His name was Roy Vickery. So I went to Europe, and I studied. I came back, and my building was all built. Now it's burnt down. I'm a local boy who's made bad. Very bad.
Who's Roy Vickery?
The contractor who built it.
Oh, I better talk to him.
Yes, talk to him by all means. You represent a rich and powerful company, Mr. Dollar. But in Clinton, you're wasting your time. You'll learn no facts, no information, nothing helpful from anyone here. Particularly Roy Vickery. You're in a tight, hot, mean little burg, Mr. Dollar.
All right, let's have it. Was that building fired on purpose?
I just told you. You won't find out anything in this town.
Now, here's our star to tell you about tomorrow's intriguing episode of this week's story.
Tomorrow? Well, there's a lot of information to be had in a town that won't talk. And there are times when the silence screams all over the place. Join us, won't you? Yours truly, Johnny Dollar.
Yours truly, Johnny Dollar, starring Bob Bailey, is transcribed in Hollywood. Written by John Dawson, it is produced and directed by Jack Johnstone. Be sure to join us tomorrow night, same time and station, for the next exciting episode of Yours truly, Johnny Dollar. Roy Rowan speaking.
March 12th, 1950, yours truly, Johnny Dollar, on Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox. Please thank this station and support their advertisers. It's their kindness and courtesy that allows us to be with you each and every time we roll around here on your favorite station. Also, you can visit our webpage, classicradio.stream, to learn more about classic radio collecting and contact me there. You can also hear our shows on demand. If you miss a day, you don't have to miss a show. You can find them at classicradio.stream, iHeartRadio, Spotify, Spreaker, TuneIn, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Amazon. Just search for Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox. Thanks for listening, and please tell all your friends the great radio shows are right here at this spot on the dial. Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox on your favorite radio station.